Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Infuse Your Future podcast, where we bring together people and ideas who are making the world a better place. I'm your host, Dr. C. Today we have Cristina Calero, and every year she puts out a beautiful diary for the wild at heart. It's full of poetry, creativity, art, and I love my copy. I have a copy for 2024. I can't wait to use it. It's fun. It's beautiful. So let's have a chat with her. Hi, Cristina.
Hello, Carla. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm really
Yeah,
excited to be
thanks for being on the show.
here. Yes, thank you.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in the world?
Okay, so at the moment, what I'm doing is I started a business basically in 2020 called Focus Mind Plus Body. And I wanted to put something out into the world that was very much focused on beauty. We had gone through the pandemic, or we were still in the pandemic. I had other personal things in my life which impacted me greatly, and I needed something to bring me into alignment with what is beautiful in the world. And poetry is something that has always been very close to my heart. Words are powerful, so powerful, no matter which language you use. And so I created diaries and journals with poetry as the inspiration for the creativity that would follow in an everyday life as well. So there's the practicality of the diary and the week to view, and there's the creativity and the inspiration that comes from the poetry. So that basically, in a nutshell, is my business. And then, looking down the track to how to harness creativity and help people with their creative output, especially as a result of going through grief and having PTSD, and how to navigate that as well, and how creativity is, for me, has been the turning point in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I have to second that. I have complex PTSD as well, and art therapy has been amazing for me. I have an art therapist, um, and it's just magical. It's a more creative type of therapy.
For
And
sure, yeah. I mean, we can only speak from our own perspective, and I'm very aware of the fact that I am speaking from my perspective. And where I was in 2020 with the things that I was living through, the usual outlets of my creativity weren't weren't helping. In fact, to pick up my guitar and start singing and writing a song just made me spiral further. So I needed another avenue, and thankfully I found it, with still writing, because writing will always be part of who I am, but as a form going back to what I did as a child, which was writing poetry. And songwriting is, in a way, a poem set to music. I was sort of still doing a bit of who I was, but recreating myself as well, because I really had to.
yeah, and I've seen the diary of yours that's coming out in 2024, and it's just beautiful.
Oh,
And
Carla, thank you.
I
I
look
think
for
it's beautiful too.
I look forward to reading all the poetry in it.
Yes, yes. Oh, you have to let me know as soon as your copy arrives.
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably, devour it. I love that kind of a thing to plan my weeks, and I always have a very colorful one.
Yeah,
A lot of artwork and creativity. So I love the marriage. Well, I don't know if I should say marriage, but I love the interaction of the creativity and the productivity, like you said. It's useful and creative at the same time.
yeah, I think so. I mean, this is a funny thing, because I'm not from a corporate world at all. I've worked in business, doing marketing and doing software integrations is sort of the main thing that I used to do. But I've always worked with creatives. I've always worked with businesses who the head of the business was the out there creative type, and I thought, well, that's why I resonate, because I can be very practical and pragmatic, but I can capture those creative elements and channel them into something. And when I was sort of discussing this with a girlfriend of mine who's a teacher, and she said, that's why all my teacher friends love your diary, because they have to be that as well. They have to be creative, but they also have to know what's happening from every half hour to every half hour. And it's a very interesting little thing that I think I've kind of hit on, which is we aren't one or the other. I think most of us have the mix, the yin and the yang of that, the practical and the creative. And to get the mix right, woohoo, hallelujah, here we come. We can, take on the world. So I think if I can keep fine-tuning that, I think I've got something really beautiful to offer, and the feedback so far has been very positive. So that's why I did another year. The first year I thought, oh, I don't know, I'll just do it for me. I wanted something because I went to a shop, bought a very practical diary, totally uninspiring. And I thought, I can't look at this. I'm in such a turmoil. I need something beautiful. I need beauty. So the first one I created for myself. And then other people went, that's beautiful. You need to print those. So that's what I did.
Well, thanks for doing that. We
Oh,
need
thank
we need
you.
more beautiful things in the world.
Yeah, the world is, I constantly scratch my head and think, 2,000 years of civilization, and we're still going over these same things, gender equality, wars. Apparently there are 14 wars happening on our planet at the moment.
Wow, that's just awful.
Unbelievable.
It's sad. It's absolutely sad. One of the other guests that I interviewed, she's actually creating a movement called the Let's Be Peace movement. And I just hope it goes viral. Anybody that's working for peace in the world, I just hope it goes viral. Peace and nonviolence. There's really no need for it. It's not healthy. It doesn't create things.
And it
We don't
hasn't
need it.
worked.
Like you said, in a civilized society, we don't need all that stuff.
No.
I'm curious, your business name is Focus Mind Plus Body. So how did you
Yeah.
come up with that name, and is there a meaning behind it?
Yes. Okay. So I kept seeing the word focus at a time when I was very unfocused. So I had been through quite a bit of trauma and had been diagnosed with PTSD. And I kept coming up with things, and I would do this and do that and, chase the shiny and not really getting anywhere and feeling like quite a failure in my life. And I didn't like that feeling. And I kept trying to sort of find a way out. And that word just kept appearing. And then one day I woke up and went, well, are you going to pay attention? That's the word. So focus, focus your mind, focus your body, and that will get things in balance. And that's exactly what I do. So instead of being fragmented mentally and emotionally, I brought things back into, all right, what is working? What can I control? Because it was mostly about control. The things that were happening in my world were so out of my control, and I was so aware of it. And I knew that what I needed as a human being, and again, this is from my perspective, I needed control. I needed to have some control over something. So, two things I could control: my mind and my body. And I brought it back down to the most simplified elements of what that meant to me at the time. So,
Cool.
yeah.
I know when we were talking earlier, you mentioned resilience and how you'd really like to talk about resilience and focus and how those are related to the creativity. Is that something you'd like to speak on?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think resilience is probably the most important element in being a successful human being and feeling that you are successful, because I know the opposite, which is complete. You are flat, on the ground with nowhere to go. And feeling that you have nowhere to go is probably in all of, when you sort of, I don't know if you do this or your listeners might tune into this, but there have been moments in my life where I have thought, what is this feeling? How do I define this feeling? Okay, can I give this feeling a name and move it to somewhere, to again have control of the feeling? And when I found the feeling of powerlessness, that feeling was the most destructive feeling that I have felt as myself. To feel that I had no power in this world and no power over anything that was going on, which was not true. It was just the story, and it was just the way it was facing wave after wave after wave after wave of unfortunate events. And at one point, I knew I was bouncing back, and then another thing would happen. Then I'd bounce back, and I got to the point where I couldn't bounce back. So resilience has to happen in order to carry on with life, or you end up in the gutter and looking at the stars, to
Yeah.
quote T.S. Eliot. One of my favorite. Oh, I just gave myself goosebumps, that line.
Can you say
Yeah,
the line again?
some of us, we're all of us in the gutter. Some of us are looking at the stars. T.S.
Ah,
Eliot. And the Pretenders took it and used it in one of their most amazing songs. So it's an incredible line. But yeah, resilience, you have to find a way. And again, for me, the word was the stimulus, focus, and focus gave me a way to build my resilience, because I think resilience is something that you build. Something happens, a challenge happens, and you go, ooh, all right, well, that kind of knocked me sideways. So where do I go from here? All right, you find your way, and that gives you, oh, whew, got through that one. Okay, well, next time that happens, I think I know what to do, you know. Um, but the other part of, and we sort of haven't touched on it, and maybe this is an age thing, because I'm 57 next week. So
oh,
this
happy
is,
birthday.
yeah, thank you. I think as a single woman in her 50s, part of the resilience thing was, you know what, and you're going to have to be your own best friend, because you're kind of a little bit of an island at the moment, and I think there is an element, a strong element in our world at the moment of, I would say, women in particular, who find themselves in that situation of being quite alone and quite aware of being alone, because we're constantly reminded. The media has a fantastic way of reminding us, and not that it's bad, and not that, like Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's how you deal with it. When the poo hits the fan and there's no one there to, no shoulder to cry on, you got to make your own shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at least for me, being alone and being lonely are not synonymous. I mean,
One is bliss, one is hell.
that is true. Like right now, to me, being alone is pure bliss.
Yeah.
Pure bliss.
Yeah.
Um, because I happen to have a chaotic life right now. Everything is about balance, right? You don't want to be alone too long because then you may get lonely. But you do need to be alone sometimes. Otherwise, you just don't know yourself. You don't find yourself. You get too overwhelmed.
Yeah. And I think it's also the personality types. I love people, but I don't need people around me all
Oh,
the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
I go out to be with people. I prefer them not to be in my home.
Now,
Um,
are any of the poems in your diary about resilience?
oh boy, I would say most of them actually.
Oh,
in
okay.
in a way. There's actually, I'll read you. My One of my favorite poets is Ella Wheeler Wilcox. So she starts the year with her poem. January is, and it's called Found. I'll just show you. You get an
Yeah.
idea of what it looks like. So, as I rush through the great world's mart, in a race for gold and a pleasure quest, a passionate throbbing human heart suddenly found in my breast. So that first little paragraph is, to me, basically about her grieving. So Ella was an amazing woman. She came from wealth when family lost their wealth. Um, she was a vegetarian, an animal rights advocate. Just, I mean, you look at the photos of these women with their hair and the bustle and the collars, and how physically restricted and restrained they were. And yet their minds were going out. And we hardly get to really see very many of them because, unfortunately, there was a different age. But she met the love of her life. They were married for about, I think, 35 years, and then he passed away. She could not deal with the grieving, with his passing. So grief overcame her. And then she went into the spiritual movement, and the poetry that came out of that grieving process, and how she then started to build her resilience through writing and moving, shifting the emotion out of her body and onto the paper, onto the page. That
Mm.
to me is resilience. So this poem is in the final paragraph. It is tossed with hope and fear and doubt. It is mad with the fever of love's unrest. I wish to God I could pluck it out, this heart I found in my breast. And that's really, that's so potent to me, because what she's saying is there's the vulnerability in the love, in what we feel. That makes us vulnerable. And at the same time, how beautiful. What an amazing, gorgeous gift to have found it. So that's one poem, but to me, it's definitely about resilience.
Well, what is your favorite poem from your book?
Wow, that's a good question.
It's probably like asking a mother to choose her favorite child.
Yeah,
Like they're all your favorite, and you're afraid of picking one.
there's this one that's, to me, a little bit, I interpreted it as a little bit raunchy for the time, but it has this whimsy and this innocence that really spoke to me, and it's called The Ghosts of Revelers. At purple eyes beside the grain, our loves on altars we had burned, and mixed our tribute with the dew, our tears when rosy down returned. Our voices we had joined with song, a bird ecstatic, light and free, our laughter rollicked with the brook, running through darkness merrily. At purple eyes beside the rim of frozen lakes, our loves we burned, and slid away when stillness reigned. Deep the vast woods our bodies earned. In starlit night along the shade of our dusk tombs our spirits glide. We hear the echoing of the wind, we breathe the sighs we living sigh. And that's called The Ghosts of Revelers. What a title. I mean, hello, Rose. So this was written by Rose Hawthorne Lathrop, who blew my mind with that poem because to me, it took me to that feeling of you're out at a party and disappear into the garden and do beautiful, lovely things with somebody, and then you wake up the next day and you think, you feel that ghost, that echoing of that moment, you know. So I love it. That's my favorite, I think.
Oh,
I
good,
think,
good. Yeah, thanks
yeah,
for sharing.
yeah. There's another, nearly every, I think actually every diary, every release has had a Baudelaire poem. So he's one of my other favorites. And Madison Julius Cowain, which is just makes me swoon. I think I was from another time. I think I'm from that time, or I must have lived in that time because I relate to those words and that the way that those people moved in the world.
That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So, what do you feel is the most important tool for yourself that keeps you resilient?
Writing,
Writing.
100%
Oh, yeah,
writing,
yeah.
writing. So I have a very good discipline, which is I wake up every day. The first thing I do is grab my journal. So I have two journals. I have this journal, the Wild at Heart journal, which is my week. So I look at what's happening for the week. And then I have the points that I make at the beginning of the month. But then I have my other journal, which is this one, and I can't open it because I've written in it, unless I do it really quickly. I don't want anybody to see what I've written there. But this is what I write in every morning, and I just do one page.
Nice.
And I write, usually what I write is what is annoying me, and I
Hmm.
get it out of my system, get what's the word? I guess get to a point where I feel, oh, that's gone. Okay, I just did a little, mind dump. Now my day will be better because I'm not holding this thing in my brain. So that's, yeah, writing. I have to do it every day. And then at night, um, usually nighttime is the creative time for me.
Hmm.
So if I wake up at 4 in the morning with an idea, then it gets captured. I write it down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, journaling is one of those top three emotional intelligence tools.
Oh,
Um,
really?
and
Yeah.
it's funny because I do the opposite of you. Like in my journal, so I'm not consistent at it. I know the benefits of it, but I haven't been able to create a consistent habit. Um, but when I do the journaling, I'm writing about all the good stuff. And when I
Oh,
do,
I do that bit later.
but when I have the bad stuff and I just have to have a catharsis and I have to write it down, I have a shredder And so I'll just get out loose paper and I write exactly what's flowing out of my brain and then I shred it.
Oh, how much power is in
And I
that?
love it. I love getting it out. I love sticking it in the shredder and then I'm done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I do actually do the 10 things that I'm grateful for,
Oh, okay.
but
That's another good one.
that's at night. And I have my rock that I hold on my heart before I go to sleep, which is my gratitude rock. And that sets me up for a good night's sleep as much as a chronic insomniac can have. So,
And that's actually another good tool going back to earlier, in this podcast, where you were talking about how when you turn on the news and forget about turning on the news, just when you're with other people, we have a tendency towards the negative, talking about what's wrong in the world. You turn on the news, of course, which I highly avoid.
mm,
Um, they're always telling you the terrible stuff that's going on in the world. But if you can turn that around and talk about what's going right in the world and what you're grateful for.
great
And even if it's
gratitude.
just that, even if you had the worst day ever, if you're still breathing, if your lungs are working well, or your eyes are able to see, or you're able to hold something in your hand. I mean,
Mm.
even just that and being grateful for that, it can really change the track of your mind from going down a road of um, more depression and more negativity to a lighter road, where it's more about problem solving and just a higher life force. When you're grateful for stuff, you just have a higher life force. And then you attract more positive things to your life. At least that's what I believe.
Feeling too, for me, with gratitude, it's very similar to love. When I feel it in my body, when I feel that real click in my body with gratitude, where I know I'm not just paying lip service to the idea, and it's a theoretical thing, but it is the feeling. It feels like love in me. So if I can fall asleep with the feeling of love, yeehaw, you know,
Yeah, good point.
yeah,
I
rather
bet
than
you I bet you have a lot better dreams when you do that.
I have amazing. I've always had really crazy dreams. I'm a crazy dreamer. um, yeah, yeah. Just
So
to
let
not.
me go ahead.
So,
So as we're coming up on the end of the time, is there anything else that you'd like to share or say with everybody?
I guess only just to plug my diary. Please go and buy it. Just come to my website, focusmindplusbody.com. You can get the Northern Hemisphere version, which is the first time I've done a Northern Hemisphere version. You can
Hmm.
get the spiral diary, but it will you'll have to pay postage because I haven't found a printer in the US. But I was thinking this morning, I love Lewis Howes, and I was watching another fabulous interview of his with a man, Pritchett, his surname is, and he's written a book which is quite a few years ago called U Squared. And I love that, the way Lewis says, if you sort of had one last thing to say in the world. And I was thinking, gee, that really puts us on the spot, doesn't it? With that thought of what is the last thing? What would be the thing that I would want to be known for? And I think for me, the thing is, I would like to infuse this world with more beauty, with beautiful words, beautiful movement. To me, beautiful music, even if it is, I think the more that we encounter, appreciate, acknowledge what is beautiful, the more at peace we feel.
Yeah, so true. At the end of each episode, I like to end with a call to action, some way that people can start infusing their lives right away. And I'm wondering if you would like to give people a call to action to do that.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah.
I think instead of watching the news, because I'm with you on that, Carla, pick up a book, open it up at any page, pick out a line, and go from there and create something, whether it's a painting, whether it's the first line of your new novel, whether it's the first line of your next song, whether it appears in a Christmas card to somebody, but find something that is beautiful and build on
I love that.
it.
I'm gonna try it. I'm
It
gonna try
feels
it.
really good.
Yeah.
And in the spiral version, I've got little prompts that are kind of along those lines, which is look at something, look at a line from the poem, and go from there. Because there is so much that is beautiful, and words are, whoa, words can take us on a trip around the world, to the other universes. They can take us anywhere.
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Let
that's
me
how
know what you come up with.
maybe I'll post it on my Facebook page. I think you're on Facebook too, right?
Oh, well, actually, if you do, use the hashtag FMB Wild Hearts.
FMB, Frank Mary Boy,
Yes, Wild Hearts.
Wild, WILDHEARTS.
Yeah, and I'll get to see what you created.
All right.
Oh, I'm excited. My heart just did a little flutter.
All right.
Oh,
All right. It'll probably take me a few days, but I'll see what
oh,
I
look,
can
no
do.
pressure. Whenever, couple of months, whatever,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whenever it happens.
All right. Well, thank you for being on the show, and I look forward to seeing the FMB Wild Hearts out there.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I was looking at it the other day and I thought it almost looks like a motorcycle club. I can see it on the back of a biker jacket, the FMB Wild Hearts. Oh, that's all right. I'm a bit that.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you too. Take care.
You're beautiful, Carla. Thank you so much.